Hello everyone and welcome back to the Do Digital YouTube channel. In today's video we're going to be talking all things iMovie and specifically what I wish I knew when I got started using iMovie. So video editing can be very overwhelming, but I love iMovie because it is a beginner's dream. Once you have the basics right, you are going to save so much time and really get the hang of it. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. My name is Megs and every week I release tech tutorials helping you do digital better. So let's jump straight into it. You are going to click create new when you're starting from scratch, but because I have a whole bunch of videos with some very unflattering preview clips, I am normally just creating a copy of a previous video so that it already has my intro and my outro. So I'm just going to show you guys a recent video that I released. It's actually going live on my channel today so that we have a baseline structure and so that this tutorial can be as concise as possible. So I, as you can see here, have a lot already placed on what's known as the timeline, but you guys would see nothing here. And you would just drag your clips from your Finder into this section right over here. So first off, the most important thing is that you can actually hover over a clip. This is known as scrubbing. And instead of importing the entire clip, you can actually press the spacebar. And there you hear me talking, and that will allow you to actually set an in point. So here you would just be clicking I on your keyboard, and then similarly you would
$1 a month if you
press spacebar to see where your out point is, and then you would press O. So this is totally not a perfect science. This is just giving you a rough indication so that you're not importing the entire clip, and it's specifically helpful for vlog footage when you know that you're not going to use all of it right off the bat. Then something else which is really helpful is if you click Command and plus when you're clicked on the timeline, it's going to zoom into the timeline, and if you click Command negative, it's going to zoom out of the timeline, so that really will help you from that perspective. And then once you've got your clip onto the timeline, which you could drag like so, or if you want it to be really fancy pants there, when it's selected you can just click E and it'll actually put it at the end of your timeline. So that's a really great hack too. But regardless of how you do it, as I said, it's not a perfect science. You can then simply drag from the left or drag from the right in order to get the timing exactly perfect or as you want it. So trimming of shots is really straightforward. If you want to cut a clip in half, you're simply going to hover over with your cursor and find the area that you're actually wanting to split, and all you're going to do is click Control B, and that's the blade tool, so that cuts something in half. For me, this is super helpful because, for example, some clips I might want to add weird voice effects or zoomed in effects, and then you actually just want a subsection of the clip. So there's actually another way of doing this that I learned about more recently, and that's simply by holding down the R key. So if we hold down the R key, we can actually do a little mini selection of a clip that's in the timeline as well, which I think is super handy. So from there, we might want to rearrange our clips. So if we want to change the order, it's as simple as kind of dragging and swapping things around, which is great. Another tool which I found to be super helpful and only really discovered it much more recently is just clicking M on certain things, and this drops a marker. So there's two ways which I use this. So the first is if you have an audio clip that you're wanting to edit to and you want to edit to the beat, like a lot of vloggers do, what they're doing is listening to the audio and then dropping M's exactly where that beat is hitting to make sure that when they edit and move around their actual video footage that it goes to the beat. You can see here there's quite a lot of M's on my timeline. It's because I'm watching the footage and then I'm seeing where I reference something. So for example here, you can see that I'm referencing Skillshare, so I dropped an M there when I was editing so that at the very end I go and download all the image overlays that I need, and then I'm not having to do it one by one. If you want to do these sorts of edit overlays, when you search in Google, just make sure you're looking for a .png file, because those are the ones that have the ability to have a transparent background, which looks a lot more attractive on video. They will come up with a checkered background, which also indicates that the background is transparent. So those are the ones that you really want to be going for. In terms of the crops in iMovie, there are three key kinds of crops, and you can access this by going to the cropping tool at the top of the screen. So the first crop is fit, which will just fit to the screen. Then there's crop to full, which allows you to crop. And then there's an effect called Ken Burns, which is actually a person's name, fun fact. And this guy apparently was well known for using archival photography to make videos. And all it does is it allows you to use static images or things that maybe are a little bit bland. So maybe it's you walking around your kitchen making a cup of coffee, and actually you want that slow zoom in effect so that not only is the footage sped up, but there's actually some visual interest as well. So when you use Ken Burns, for example, it'll ask you to set like the in and the out frame. And then if we're happy with that, for example, here you can see it's slowly zooming into my face. So people do use that a lot, but specifically with static imagery that they're trying to make look more attractive. If you go into your preferences, so you go iMovie, preferences, you will actually see photo placement has a default. My photo placement was set to Ken Burns, and it was driving me mad because, as I say, a lot of the stuff is overlaying logos, which I obviously don't want to crop, especially if it's a video sponsor. You would never want to do that to someone's logo. So I actually was able to just come here and change the photo placement default to rather be fit, which is what I use more commonly, but this is obviously preference. So in terms of text, this is also a really helpful tool. Is you're simply going to go into titles, and here you will have a lot of different options, and in the same way that you're able to preview your video clips, you can preview exactly what this overlay looks like. Top tip is people can spot iMovie default settings from a mile away, so it's a great idea to go to a third-party site like defont.com, which is what I like using for fonts, and actually mix up the font so that it looks less like iMovie, and this can make it look like a totally bespoke kind of titling as opposed to the regular iMovie titling. In terms of wording, people will often refer to a bottom thirds title, which is the one that would often say like your name, for example, and then obviously also, or lower third, and then you'll also have this title that's in the middle. So those are like the two most common ones. And then once you've dragged that onto your timeline, it allows you to edit the text and obviously change the font here as well. So that is text. Then in terms of more custom overlays, a lot of people do use Canva to do like title slides in between their footage, which looks great because it allows you to have a lot more kind of customization. So that's also a great top tip as well. If you guys want to hear a little bit more about how I use Canva with iMovie, please do let me know down below. I'd be happy to make a video about that, but just so that you guys are aware. And on that topic of overlays, another thing which is great to know is that the green screen effect is super straightforward when it comes to iMovie. So if, for example, you're wanting to get a simple animation at the bottom of your screen, which just simply says subscribe, you're going to type into Google subscribe button green screen, and then go to videos, and you will see that there are loads of different videos which simply have green screens and a specific animation. So if, for example, you love this one, I mean, I wouldn't suggest one that covers your face, but nevertheless, you can simply copy this URL and pop it into a YouTube video downloader. So you're simply going to paste your link over here, click download again. It's going to open some bizarre pop-up. So you're just going to close all that. You're going to go back to iMovie, then you're going to find that clip in your downloads, green screen, and you're going to drag it over your clip. Then here you're going to come to this video overlay setting icon and go to green or blue screen. And there it's actually just removed the green screen from the back. So you actually don't need to have a knowledge of After Effects if you just want to create some basic kind of overlays, because a lot of them already exist on the internet, but obviously you run the risk of other people using them as well. So that's also a great tip. If at any point you make a mistake on iMovie, you're just going to hit Command Z to get rid of something. So that's the universal command for undo. Then a little bit more about this toolbar at the top, because it's a lot more jam-packed than you would actually think. So the first icon is simply the color balance. You can have auto, which just kind of does its thing. match color, which allows you to match a color from a different video. Then there's white balance, which allows you to set the white balance. Actually, what you should be doing is holding up a piece of paper in the footage so that you can set the white balance with a piece of paper. But for example, here you can see it's going to change the overall vibe depending on what the footage thinks is true white. And then skin tone balance you can also use, but I mean, obviously you do have to be quite careful with this because it can make your footage look a little bit orange. Okay, then the next one allows you to do very basic color grading. So I have mentioned before that color grading is not possible in iMovie. I mean, it is possible, but I find it quite difficult to use it. So here you can change, for example, cool and warmth. Here you can pull out different colors. And then similarly here, you can have a play around. But I don't do much of this in iMovie. I find it quite confusing. I'll typically move over to something like Premiere Pro, but if you guys want to give it a bash, then by all means, I'm sure there are some basic things that you can do with iMovie on its own. Then in terms of stabilization, I would suggest only doing to a tiny degree because it can look a little bit fake. So I would suggest keeping the percentage down to about 12% if you are going to use the stabilization. Then for audio, you can change the audio of your clips, and if you want to add, for example, your voiceover and then lower the volume of the actual footage that you're talking over, you can just click lower volume of other clip. Then in terms of background noise, you can reduce background noise. I think this would work maybe well for things like an aircon in the background that might be bothering you from an audio standpoint. And another tip is that if you see down here, if there's actually yellow, like here, for example, my intro is a little bit loud, you can just drag and pull that down just a little bit. You can use that range tool if, for example, there's a portion of your clip where only a subset is very loud and then it goes down to normal, just to correct that as well. If for whatever reason you actually want to create a copy of a clip, all you need to do is hold down Option, click on the clip, and then drag it next to it, and there you go, it's created the exact same clip for a second time, which is also handy. If you would like to mute a clip, you're just simply going to go Command, Shift, and M, and you can see that it removes the audio altogether, which is also cool. What I also sometimes like to do is double click on the clip and click Detach Audio, and it actually pops it down below, which allows you to be able to manipulate the audio in isolation of the clip itself. Editing Meg here, I realized that I missed two of the tips that I wanted to share with you guys, so please bear with me. I don't want you to miss out on this. So the first one is transitions. So if you go to transitions, you will see that there's a bunch of different options that you can employ. I really like the slide left, slide right ones because I find that they are a lot easier to make look natural, whereas some of the other ones look like a PowerPoint presentation gone wrong. So that's the one thing that I wanted to share with you guys. Something else which is a total game changer is selecting multiple clips, which you can simply do by going above the clips and going as follows. And why this is so powerful is you can actually color grade one clip, or for example, the positioning of this clip is exactly as I want it in the bottom left hand corner. And if I go Command C to copy and then say File, paste attributes, or if you just want to paste certain adjustments, when you go to paste adjustments, there's actually a bunch of shortcuts here where you can only paste color correction, only paste crop, only volume, only clip filter, and so on. So I really hope that those two things added a bit more value to you as well. So that is a wrap on everything that I wish I knew on iMovie. Hopefully it'll make your editing so much quicker than mine was in the beginning. If you have any questions, as always, please pop them down below. I love engaging with you guys on the comments, and I cannot wait to see you guys in our next videos so that we can continue to do digital better.
I can help you out. I can help you out.